The full screen? Yes, you see the full screen?
Yes.
Okay, I have to say, I've been like a little hoarse, so I hope I make it through without coughing.
Let's do a little intro since we are we just started recording. So Dan, will you kick off the meeting? We'll sort of explain why we're here.
I'd love to. Thank you, Anna. So here we are, a collection of advocates and service providers and healthcare professionals and equipment vendors, all advocating for better public health, less noise and less pollution, and a better experience for everybody. And there's a lot at stake. We can try to stave off climate change and have more peace and quiet in the neighborhoods. So we're gonna have a presentation from Sarah Evans, healthcare professional. She'll introduce herself and her credentials a little bit, and we're gonna also hear from Mo Green and Diamond Cut and quite possibly Eco Mo and Cultural Lawn and Organic Ways and Means. And of course, Anna Grossman, who's the brain, this is her brainchild to get this collection together and talk about the feasibility of the movement to zero emission, quieter land care equipment. And we're also going to hear from Steve of Eco-Quip.
Yes.
So it's a star-studded lineup, and thank you, Sarah. We are excited to hear your presentation.
And also Amner from Blue Sky, Green Earth. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Sarah Evans. I'm an assistant professor of environmental medicine and public health at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. And I'm going to speak briefly to the health concerns related to gas-powered leaf blowers, most notably through their contribution to air pollution and noise pollution and climate change. So before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge that the work that I do is supported by the Institute for Exposomics and Environmental Health at Mount Sinai, as well as the Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Unit, the New York State Children's Environmental Health Centers, and our funders at the National Institutes of Health. And so at Mount Sinai, we work as a multidisciplinary team. We are researchers, healthcare providers, community members, advocates, and we work together as a team to prevent and treat diseases of environmental origin, and to promote safer evidence-based practices and policies. So in addition to conducting research, we see patients, we educate the public, like I'm doing here today, and we advocate for healthier communities. So I'm going to start by addressing what we know about the contribution of gas-powered leaf blowers to air pollution. So the fuel combustion by this equipment is incomplete. So this results in emissions that come from both burned and unburned fuels. And so here you can see a list of many of the major air pollutants that are emitted by gas-powered leaf blowers. You can see with the asterisks that a number of these are known to cause cancer in humans, and several of them are also criteria air pollutants as characterized by the US EPA, which means that we have standards for those in the air. And the California Air Resource Board has estimated that 1 hour of operation of a gas-powered leaf blower is the equivalent of driving a car 15 hours or 1,100 miles. And given that there were an estimated 150 million Americans who owned a leaf blower in 2020, you can see that the contribution that this equipment makes to air pollution is not insignificant. And so scientists from the US EPA have looked at the contribution of what they call non-road engines, two-stroke non-road engines, so not automobiles, to air pollution. And they estimated that 27 million tons of pollutants were emitted by 121 million lawn and garden equipment items. And when they looked a little bit more closely at these lawn and garden equipment items, just to look at what they categorized as lawn maintenance equipment, which includes gas-powered leaf blowers, they found that a significant portion of a particular type of air pollutant called particulate matter 2.5 or PM 2.5 was emitted by this class of equipment, which again included gas-powered leaf blowers. So a large portion of lawn and garden equipment emissions is coming from this type of equipment. PM 2.5 is significant because it's associated with numerous health outcomes, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. So normally when we think about air pollutants, we think about impacts on the lungs, respiration, asthma, lung cancer, and certainly air pollution is associated with those health outcomes. But air pollutants like particulate matter 2.5 impact essentially every system of the body. So exposure to air pollution is associated with increased risk of heart disease, obesity, increased risk of autism and neurodegenerative disorders, poor pregnancy outcomes, and a lower life expectancy. And the World Health Organization estimates 6.5 million deaths per year worldwide are attributed to exposure to air pollution, and 200,000 deaths per year in the US alone. So why are we so concerned about that particulate matter type of air pollution that's emitted from gas-powered leaf blowers? As I mentioned, particulate matter is really, really fine particulate that can penetrate deep into the lungs. So again, not only associated with problems with lung function, but when it gets deep into the lungs, can increase risk of respiratory illnesses, COVID-19 severity, heart attack and cancer, and get into the bloodstream and travel to the brain, which is where we see impacts on cognition, neurodegeneration, autism, and the like. And we're particularly concerned about air pollution and children's health, with 1 in 10 deaths in children under 5 years attributed to air pollution. Again, impaired brain development and cognition and lung function, and attributed 600,000 deaths in children under 15 to air pollution. So there are a number of scientific studies that support the idea that emissions specifically from leaf blowers and other gas-powered lawn and garden equipment can impact health. So one study found that 1,400 of 100,000 total deaths resulting from PM 2.5 could be attributed just to lawn and garden use, and that's in a single year. Another study had workers wear personal air monitors while they were operating lawn and garden equipment, and found that exposure levels to air pollutants exceeded EPA standards for PM 2.5 and carbon monoxide. And lastly, a study of workers using two-stroke engine chainsaws found that they were exposed to cancer-causing chemicals like benzene and butadiene at levels that may increase their risk of cancer. So taken together, these studies suggest that policies and practices that would limit the use of two-stroke gas-powered equipment like leaf blowers can prevent death and disease. So it's really important to consider the populations that are most vulnerable to air pollution exposures. We already mentioned workers and children as two populations that are obviously impacted by air pollution from gas-powered leaf blowers, but we should also consider individuals with pre-existing conditions, pregnant women, the elderly, as well as frontline communities. And I think this is really notable because many landscapers and workers who operate gas-powered lawn and garden equipment also come from frontline low-income and communities of color who bear disproportionate exposure to pollutants from many sources. So this places them at even greater risk of harm. And so I just wanted to mention that there are a number of studies that highlight the increased risk of PM 2.5 exposures for elderly people, where PM 2.5 and other air pollutants are associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attack and stroke, as well as increased risk of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And lastly, studies conducted at Mount Sinai and elsewhere find that exposure to air pollution during pregnancy is associated with increased risk of asthma in childhood, and this effect is amplified in the presence of stress. And so that's a segue for me to talk a little bit about the topic of noise pollution from gas-powered leaf blowers. So interestingly enough, the CDC chose to exemplify the decibel level at which hearing damage occurs with a leaf blower. So 2 hours of operation of a leaf blower above 85 decibels can damage hearing. But noise is more than just a nuisance. It's been characterized as a public health hazard by the American Public Health Association, and the World Health Organization has quantified the number of healthy life years lost due to environmental noise. Oops, I think oops, sorry. And so we are at Mount Sinai so concerned about exposure to noise as we are about other pollutants, including air pollution and chemical pollutants, so that we've actually created a prescription for prevention to help individuals reduce exposure to noise. And so I mentioned that the World Health Organization is really interested in how noise contributes to loss of healthy years of life, through contribution to various types of illnesses, as well as loss of life. And so they estimated that as many as 1.6 million healthy years of life are lost due to the health effects of noise alone, and 45,000 healthy years are lost due to cognitive impairment in children alone. Again, we see the same types of vulnerable groups that we see for exposure to air pollution. And it's not just the auditory system or the ears that are impacted by exposure to noise, but we see associations with cardiovascular disease, stress and mental health problems, impaired focus and learning, and sleep loss. And it's not only the level of noise that's emitted by gas-powered leaf blowers that really causes a problem, but the frequency of the sound that really deems it so problematic. And so this is a study by Walter and Banks, which found that the low frequency sound emitted by gas-powered leaf blowers, which is shown here in blue, was able to travel far longer distances than other types of equipment. So you can see here that even at distances as far as 800 feet away from the source, that low frequency sound is still well above the WHO outdoor daytime level of noise that's deemed to be safe. So again, I think many people characterize the noise of a leaf blower as being a nuisance or an annoyance. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of studies that show that noise is more than just an annoyance. And so this was a very large study of 15,000 individuals that found that the increasing level of annoyance that a person reported or experienced from exposure to noise was actually associated with doubling the rate of depression and anxiety. In addition, this increased rate of annoyance or exposure to noise was associated with cardiovascular effects, including increased risk of atrial fibrillation, increased blood pressure, and increased risk of major cardiovascular events like a heart attack or a stroke. And so this actually makes sense. This is kind of a complicated diagram, but I just wanted to exemplify how noise can really get into the body and have all of these impacts on health through activation of the stress response, cellular death, inflammation, and ultimately cardiovascular disease. So not only do we see this in large epidemiological studies, but we know that there's an underlying mechanism that makes this possible. Again, older populations are highly vulnerable to the impacts of noise, and this is just to highlight a number of studies that have shown a connection between community noise. So this is not necessarily noise that you're exposed to as a worker, but noise that is just present in your own community was associated with an increased risk of cognitive impairment and odds of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And so finally, I just want to highlight that it's really important to acknowledge that the impacts of emissions from gas-powered leaf blowers also affect climate change. And there are a myriad of health impacts that result from this, including exposure to extreme heat, risk of illness and dehydration, worsening asthma and allergy seasons, increased risk of insect-borne diseases, injuries, and loss of work and school and mental health issues that result from an increase in extreme weather events, as well as disruptions to food supplies and contribution to malnutrition. So it's just really important to highlight that the notable emissions that I mentioned in the earlier slides not only have direct impacts on health to those who are exposed, but have indirect impacts through the notable impact on climate change. And so lastly, I will just close here to let you know that you can get more information about the health impacts of gas-powered leaf blowers and other environmental exposures by scanning these QR codes or visiting our websites, as well as following us on social media through our Exposomics Institute, our Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Unit, and our New York State Network. And so with that, I thank you all for your time.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Sarah Evans. Which do you prefer, Dr. Sarah Evans or Professor Sarah Evans?
I think doctor. Stick with doctor.
All right, Dr. Sarah Evans. That was beautiful. Kind of ugly, actually, but it's that's why we're all here. So great work.
There
Really
is a
appreciate it.
solution. I don't want to end it on a down note. I think you all, everyone else who's here tonight, can speak to the feasibility and the solutions, so we can be optimistic, I think. I hope.
More and more communities are doing something about this. They're listening to the science and they're putting an end to gas leaf blowers. We have Maplewood in New Jersey, who has had a year-round ban now. And it looks like Montclair, New Jersey will be implementing that also as of next week, 15th of August. So the good news is it's doable, right, Dan? So this is
right.
where we get to hear from all of you. And hello, Nelson. We're so glad you joined us. All right, Dan, take it from here, and then we're going to basically go around and hear about your stories and how you did this, how you made this happen, and why you chose it, and how you're making it happen for the folks who are here transitioning. Dan, go ahead.
Excellent. I'm going to try to squeeze this in under 10 minutes. I'll hit share screen. And let's see, here we go. So many choices. And share. All right, so how are we doing? Does that look good?
Looks good.
Yeah. Looks good, Dan.
All right, thank you. It's not showing up entirely. Oh, that's my own bar. How about that? Maybe I can move that. Okay, very good. All right, so we have been about emission-free landscaping for 18 years. I'm Dan Delventhal, the founder of Mogreen LLC, and we have literally avoided tons of pollution and noise. And we started our business with this mower and a broom and a rake. And it went pretty well, but my old favorite Scott's reel mower, 20-inch wide, 3 inches high, has a few drawbacks. But it's very quiet and it's a great workout. We started in order to have less pollution and noise. And we toyed with names like Spew No Evil and Workout Res Care, and finally landed on Mogreen. Now, little did I know, people, that it's a very catchy name. People would be pulling up next to us and quoting the movie. One day, a man pulled up next to me and said, "You don't come into Mo Green's town and talk to Mo Green that way. Tell Mo Green what to do." So all the Godfather fans love our name. That's it. Mo Green was a character in The Godfather, for anybody who didn't get the connection. And there's a lot of people pulling for this movement to have less pollution and less noise, and many of them are starting with the worst of the worst, the two-stroke engines, the gas leaf blowers. So this screen is just filled with people who are working for the cause: Live Green, Sustain, land trusts, the American Green Zone Alliance, the Organic Farmers Association, Quiet Communities, Healthy Yards, Pollinator Pathways. So everyone's working on it. Here's a restatement of some of the problems with gas lawn care, courtesy of the American Green Zone Alliance, my friend Dan made. The emissions are one thing, the health risks we just heard about, the noise, quite a health risk. People get vibration syndrome from using those gas-powered backpack leaf blowers, and there's a lot of waste, filters, things like that. So electric is a much better way to go than gas, and electric gear is at least 50% quieter than gas-powered gear. It's a lot quieter, but one big thing which we already covered in a little bit is the low frequency versus high frequency. The low frequency noise from gas-powered leaf blowers travels long distances, penetrates walls, disrupts cognition. You can't think straight, raises your blood pressure. We just heard all about that. So electric is a good solution to gas-powered leaf blowers. And of course, blowing less is a great solution. Rakes aren't a bad thing. Great workout. I once heard of a group out of Boston called Rake Dancers. They were line raking. I thought that was great. Why we exist with full force is what I learned after starting Mo Green and learning about the issues. I thought it might be about consumption. I thought it would be a cool way for environmental athletes to get a workout and a suntan and make some money while they took care of
Can you shut
models.
that dog up?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute.
No problem at all. That's cool, Steve.
Sorry.
So what do we have in terms of our air pollution problem as a result of lawn care? The EPA has said it's 5% quite clearly. I think it's as much as 10% and possibly more. In California, the pollution from lawn care eclipsed the pollution from cars. If you've ever driven in Hollywood, that's a little hard to believe. 5 to 10% of our air pollution in the U.S. is from lawn care. So, and how could that be? Gas gear is 10 to 20 times more polluting than per gallon than in a car. That's how it can be. And the two-stroke engines are the worst. So it's been difficult to do lawn care and compete without really good electric gear. And we are now living in a time where electric gear is outselling gas gear. All the manufacturers are coming in line. So our history was interesting. We were using push mowers, single push mowers. We invented a gang kit so you could push a 4-foot wide reel mower. Even a one-armed 9-year-old could do it. We had hydrogen and this wider kit that we invented called the reel-to-reel. But only when we went electric did we start growing at double digits, 9 years, 30% plus growth when we started going electric. And this is an example of a 5-foot wide mean green mower. You can get them from our friend Steve from Eco-Quip. And it's got a solar assisting charging canopy, which is great. I call it the Tesla of lawnmowers. And electric mowers are fantastic. Here's a picture of us with one of our favorite customers. There was an article in an industry rag. The customer is a community garden. They don't want any gas-powered equipment in there. Their plants are happier with us. And everything we do is zero emission. So not just the gas-powered leaf blowers, but everything. Chainsaws, hedgers, edges, trimmers, sprayers, you name it. And here in the picture, you can see we've got a 2-foot mower, a 3-foot electric mower, a 4-foot electric mower stand-on. We also have a 5-foot rider and a 6-foot riding electric mower. They tend to run all day on a single charge. And we take care of about 70 acres a week. We'll be just shy of $1 million in revenue this year, our 18th year in business. So we use all battery-powered gear. When we can charge with solar, we do. We do elect 100% renewable electricity when we can. And we buy carbon credits. We still burn some gas in vehicles because the return on converting your lawn gear is actually much higher than the return, the net gain, environmental gain for converting to electric. But we are slowly but surely, we've got some Prius hybrids pulling aluminum trailers, and we'll be going electric on the fleet as well. But we zero our carbon footprint. We want to be carbon neutral. We buy carbon credits more than we need to offset any gas that's used in a vehicle. A good example, because of the mathematics of how many emission mile equivalents you save by using electric lawn gear charged with renewable energy. You could charge with coal, you'd still have a 70% gain, savings, emissions gain, but no power plant uses all coal, and there's more and more renewable options out there. So we're probably 98% emission free, and we've won some awards, and want to take a moment to talk about Montclair. I am so proud of Montclair. I'm so proud of Larchmont, New York, towns that have really gone out in the interest of the public health. The rights of victims of smoking have been enforced, and now people are enforcing the rights of victims of pollution and noise from neighboring land care providers that use two-stroke engines and gas-powered gear. Back to Montclair, the town that's done this great blower ban. What does gas-powered lawn care look like from an emissions standpoint in Montclair? There's about 12,000 lawns. It's about 50,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases, carbon, and that's the equivalent of about 12,000 cars running all year round, which is the equivalent pollution of over 1 billion miles in a car. That's about 5,000 trips around the world. That's per year. And the market is a $20 million market. So innovators who understand that they can get a better return on investment from electric and be compliant can do really well in that town. And I think the free market that allows customers to choose vendors who choose their solutions that are compliant can really come up with a seamless transition. Electric versus gas gear. Electric has the upper hand, not just from a health perspective and all that, but it's a return on investment exercise. I've done cost benefit analyses in other industries as well, and this is really fascinating to me. I've been an advocate for a long time, and Dan Mabe gave me some numbers on cost of operations, and he did some great analysis himself. But here we go. You might spend twice the money on an electric mower or blower plus batteries and chargers to get started, but you earn a return on investment because it costs 7 times more to own and operate and fuel and maintain a gas-powered mower. It costs 4 times as much to operate a gas-powered leaf blower. And the maintenance is less costly and less frequent with electric gear. The lifespan is better with electric gear. The pocketbook of the lawn care provider is enriched when he chooses electric gear. And Brandon from Eco can attest to that just at first glance at the electric bill. He's 2 months into a conversion from gas to electric. Same with Nelson Munoz of Cultural Lawn. He has seen incredible gasoline savings. So how do you do a cost-benefit analysis? You basically calculate what your costs are, and then you calculate what your benefits are. So what are the costs? You've got to buy new gear. You may have to do a little training. You may have to add a few dedicated circuits. But we're not talking about a lot of money compared to the return. You'll save or earn 50% on the investment for blowers. You'll save 20-25% with mowers, And there's other benefits, health impacts, business growth. These are what you call soft benefits. It's hard to quantify a health benefit, uh, and client and employee retention, no longer a public nuisance, compliance with blower bans. So let's take a look at an ROI, well, in a moment. So when it comes to using gas leaf blowers, methodologies are changing, styles are changing, pollinator pathway, half-earth wild movement. Let's do less blowing. So we can leave whole leaves in beds, buy less mulch. We can mulch mow leaves, reduces bulk, feeds the soil, and they compress 15 to 1. So you shred them up ideally with an electric mower, you're doing quite well. And then you can also use lawn sweepers. If you've done mulch mowing and you've got excess ground up leaves, you can sweep them right up, hopefully, by towing an electric mower. Jeff Korjalak of Organic Ways and Means tested this out and told me about it, and we have 4 of these rigs. They're fantastic. So just to restate that, you can do less blowing by leaving whole leaves in beds, mulch mowing leaves, and using lawn sweepers to sweep up the excess mulch mown leaves. So for electric blowers, I don't really have a horse in the race. I don't sell electric gear like Steve does of Eco-Quip. But normally, you want to go out and find a tool line that feels good. Often you start with the blower, so you find a blower that you like, and you invest in it, and you maybe get an extra battery and charger. But then you also want to consider the rest of the tools that are going to share those batteries. And often the first electric tool you buy almost dictates the line of electric gear that you get kind of standardized on. And it just happened to be Ego in my case. But Ego makes a great example. They are a market leader. At our shop, we like the handheld blowers. You can buy these blowers with a couple of 5-amp batteries and a super fast charger, and we have a backpack blower. People leave it on the wall. A couple of backpack blowers. People leave them on the wall, like the handhelds. But there's and it's a prosumer product. So ultimately, we will go to more ruggedized gear. But the 650 was sufficient, and then the 765 CFM unit came out, and that's a beautiful, beautiful product. Some other products are quieter, but it's a beautiful product. And then there's a backpack model, which is a prosumer product, which means it's high quality, but it's not necessarily ruggedized or even warranted for commercial use as much as a commercial blower. So these look similar. The prosumer backpack blower with a pair of, let's say, 7-amp batteries. Here's a handheld with 5-amp batteries. These might go full out for 10 minutes each. These might go full out for 20 minutes each, over half an hour, which often that's what a tank of gas gets you. These are bigger batteries still and a more ruggedized unit. So the getting electric blowers is easy. Keeping them charged is easy, and it's a good thing. I'm actually surprised when people start converting to electric and they don't start with the blower. A 2-stroke product or trimmer. And many people do start with the blowers and trimmers. Those are 2-stroke. They're just deadly to be operating near. What about charging? It's a big deal for people who say you can't do it. But as I stated, we'll do just shy of $1 million of lawn care, and we have no problem keeping batteries charged and running all day. At the garage, you really just need to add a couple dedicated circuits. If you have a large mower, some of the chargers are regular 110. Some of them are a little faster and beefier. Might be 20 amp, 30 amp special outlet, but adding a circuit is fairly inexpensive. you want a dedicated circuit to that mower when it charges. Same thing for a bunch of small battery chargers. You probably want a dedicated circuit for, let's say, 5 or 10 slow, small battery chargers that are going to go overnight. You have to do the math on the wattage to calculate. Depending on the size of the business, you may want a couple of dedicated circuits for mowers and a few for battery banks. At night, we're charging 10 or 12 commercial mowers, 40 or 50 small batteries. Now, for transit and work sites, you can charge on the move by charging from the battery, from the alternator, from a backup battery, from solar. You can use an inverter to plug things into. And let's see. Also, the thing that made our business so simple is charging and plugging in chargers at customer outlets. It's nice to charge at the vehicle, less moving around, but I would say 99% of our customers have outlets that we can plug our small batteries into, and we charge at our customers all day. We ask permission, and everyone gives it, except for maybe 1 out of 200 regular accounts. And we tell them it costs about 27 cents to charge a battery, and nobody really cares if we charge 2 or 3 batteries. What's the difference? Under $1. Here is some math on the return on investment. It costs about $1 an hour versus 25 cents an hour to run a gas blower versus an electric blower. So if you have a 750 CFM blower, we think that's more than adequate. I think most sane people, once they understand the science, really don't want a 1,000 CFM blower aimed at their lawn, desiccating it, or aimed at the critters in their beds, subjecting them to 200 plus mile an hour hurricane winds. And you can, with a 700 or 800 CFM blower, you can blow a pine cone off a pool cover from 20 feet away. It's a lot of juice. So if it's $1 an hour for a gas blower and only 25 cents for an electric blower that is going to probably be with you longer, serve you longer, and have less maintenance, then what is what are you going to spend on each one? Well, the upfront cost, if you want to buy extra batteries and chargers so that you could be blowing all day if you must. Some people think they need to blow all day in the fall, so that's how I do the calculation. But actually, the return on investment is going to be higher for less demanding use cases. So in this case, you get a blower, you get a few batteries, a couple of chargers, you spend about $1,200. The gas-powered backpack leaf blower that needs fuel constantly is going to be about $500. So you're going to spend $750 more to have a better experience, and you save half of that per year. That's the savings when you do the math on the $1 for the hours versus 25 cents. That's a 52% return on investment. So you can do a great job, have happier customers, happier communities, make 50%. Where can you earn double digits on your money? Not many places. So about a 50% return on investment. And the same goes for the mower. It's $7 an hour to run a gas mower, $1 an hour to run an electric mower, commercial mower. You might spend twice as much, but you're going to earn 20% or more return on investment. And you can do all kinds of things with electric mowers to have a zero emission experience. You know, dropping seeds, you know, a little spike seed drop, tow tarps or carts. You can spread compost automatically. You can aerate while you mow short on a crabgrass infested lawn where you're trying to catch seeds in a bag, and you can scarify with a tow behind rake, all with electric gear. And so how do you do it? You know, you want to go out and find find a small tool vendor that you like, maybe test out the trimmers or blowers, do a little homework, check with your local dealer who may be able to do a demonstration or answer your questions. We happen to use Ego for our small tools. Mean Green is our commercial mower standard. They're the market leader. Generac bought them. They're an American-owned company. Steel manufactures in Virginia Beach. That's a beautiful thing. I'd like to support Steel. I probably would look at them as a second choice after Ego to see if they're viable. I've heard good things about Gravely. But the point is, everyone in the gas lawn care gear business is getting into the electric gear as fast as they can. And over 50% of all gear purchased today is electric. So Black & Decker, Honda, just go out and pick a small tool battery platform, get some small electric tools, and away we go. Look at a large scale commercial mower supplier like Mean Green. I know Black & Decker's doing it. Gravely is. Greenworks is another one. Greenworks. Nelson has had an excellent experience with Greenworks. He might talk about it if I ever stop talking, so I'll try to close this down quickly. In the future, gas prices will go up, and we'll continue to suffer from the climate change from fossil fuels, ill health impacts, noise nuisances, right? What's happening with lithium? Density of power is getting better. Charge speeds are improving. We're getting more renewable power in the grid. There's more solar, there's more wind. So the future looks bright for electric. And Martin Luther King is famous for saying the time is always right to do the right thing. Well, the time has never been better. Climate change is going to kick our butts, and it already is. It may be too late. We've got to try to go net neutral as a country, and then try to convince the rest of the world to do the same yesterday. So as a business, we've avoided over 800 metric tons of air pollution already. And we've done about 10,000 acres, over 10,000 acres, mowed them without gas, took care of them without any gas gear, and we've avoided about 9 million automile equivalent emissions since our inception. And that's like 360 car trips around the world. We want to help everyone do better. We want to drive this movement. We have a loose affiliation and partnership alliance called the Electric, Organic, and Native Alliance, the EON Alliance. And that's where we partner across territories to build stronger companies and load balance staff and equipment if we can. We refer people to each other to reduce the commutes, have more efficient routes, and even providing, this may not be good for the consumer, but competition is always good. But there will be less competition for people who cooperate and stop traveling so much because it's such a unique service. It should be consolidated. And speaking of alliances, AGSA certifies electric providers and helps them figure out best practices for safety, and even they vet equipment as well. So I can be contacted, Dan at mogreen.com. Visit mogreen.com on the web, and we'll go to the next step.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. Super comprehensive. And I'm just flabbergasted by the calculations you did about what Montclair is doing. And I feel so extra proud of my town for that. So thank you for that. So now we want to hear from you all about your experiences, more real life experiences. And so we'll just sort of go around, and if you can introduce yourselves and sort of share a little bit about your story and where you're at with your transition into electric equipment, or if you started off that way, why? And so Amner, will you kick it off and tell us a little bit about your company, Blue Sky Green Earth, based in Princeton, New Jersey, right?
Yes. So thank you, Anna. And Anna contacted me like back in March or something, and I was thinking, oh, who is this lady contacting me, asking questions right now? What do they want? I was trying to set up a company because I've done consulting. I normally do business consulting. My background is on running businesses in large, different different types of companies. One of the ones that I did do was a landscape company. For a couple of years, I was consulting with them how to increase their profits and everything, but they were all gas, right? And then one of the employees at that company that had been there for 5 years said, "Hey, I want to start my own lawn care company." And the owner from the other lawn care company said that they would invest. And I said, "Well, do you really want to do that?" I said, I've been looking at some of the green initiatives that are out there. And I said, "Listen, I'll invest." So I took out the other guy that was going to invest. And I said, "But if we need to go all electric." And we almost didn't launch because part of the concept was being 100% electric. That includes the Ford Lightning F-150 truck. And then, so when you call the phone number for the company, it's, "Hey, we take care of your lawn, the environment, and our employees." And that's actually kind of where we landed on this, including we don't use a trailer currently. I'm still trying to figure out how we're going to continue not to use a trailer because even in Montclair, downtown Montclair, it's hard to drive around with a trailer and it's very dangerous. So we use the ramp rack, and that seems to be working out well for us. So Jose, who's the other business partner, bought into it, and I'm glad he bought into it. And then we opted to go with, again, the F-150, the ramp rack, and then with Eco-Equipment. The reason that we decided to go with Eco-Equipment was because of the flexibility of the batteries. And since they've been around for a while, the battery format has stayed the same regardless of the tool that you're using. So we are proud to say that we don't use anything that's not electric when we perform work. So as far as electric goes, this is the first year. And I've encountered a lot of naysayers. And then Anna knows because I normally send her like a quick video or a text of something, so that we can continue to prove those naysayers. And that actually, it's not necessarily naysayers. I would say a lot of misinformed people out there. I think 16.
Oh, your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I was getting a call. Can you hear me? So on the naysayers, I was saying, I think $16,000 is what someone was saying that the a blower cost or something, that it was cost prohibitive. And Anna was gracious enough to host a show and tell event at her house a couple of weeks ago. And that has really propelled the company in Montclair faster than it has in any of the other towns that we've been servicing. And that actually helped, from what I hear, push Montclair to that year-round ban for the blowers. Again, that's the blower end, and I'm more on my part is just dedicated all green all the time. Then one of the council people and then also the mayor have invited us to do show and tells. And I always tell everyone, and the Mo Green, you did a great job explaining a couple things there, that competition is not bad because there's plenty of work. And like you said, there's 12 million or 20 million just in Montclair's business. If Montclair went all electric, I would not be able to service it. And I don't mind sharing my knowledge, which is not 20 years yet, but my current knowledge with other landscapers. A funny story that happened on Saturday, and I was telling you a little bit with the blower that we took, the big commercial blower out there, and the business partner actually thought the same thing that I thought to myself, this is too powerful for us to use at these jobs right now. We'll wait for the leaf season to use them. But then the other part is that we took another employee from one of the businesses that I have consulted before on the lawn services, and he was using the Ego trimmer, and he did not know how to use it. So I had to give him a quick training, The blower, he actually had a hard time with the blower because it had too much power, the 800 commercial. And I had to show him how to put it on slow speed and just lock it in so that he could use it because it was a little bit too powerful. So when people say that it doesn't have the power, it doesn't have the ability, it does. And then also for all of you that we were talking about the dedicated switches, Ego is actually going to be coming out with something that you can use on a standard 110 without adding another dedicated circuit. Sorry, not switch. Soon. And you can Google that, which I'm excited to hear when they do come out with it, because it's going to make it easier to charge a lot more batteries. The green machines, yes, I looked at them at the beginning, and then of course the starting cost without having the amount of properties was just a little bit too much for me, and I wanted to see how this was going to work out. Green machine is something that I might look down in the future, or maybe Ego will actually progress enough that I won't even have to go down that route. But I'm excited. I'm excited to share my knowledge. And like I told Anna, being Latino, I like to translate everything into Spanish and help train, as all of you know, probably, is the majority of people working in this business are Latino. And it's getting them to just think differently. And it happened to me on Saturday with someone that I've known for like 6 years, when I'm like, oh my God, that's right. You don't use the electric normally. Let me show you how to use this real quick. And then the learning curve was not that big because he's obviously well versed in landscaping, but it's that training and training it into Spanish, into terms that the employees can understand. But I'm excited that I'm helping them also health wise. And then one of the other passions that I have when I have employees is also financial literacy. I actually throw in financial literacy there, especially in Princeton, where we don't get as much snow as Montclair. If there's no snow, they're out of work for 3-4 months. And it's about having them be able to survive those months without having to have that other hardship, right? So we talked about all the health benefits, but I think also just financial benefits also for the employees and being able to help them out. So that's what I have for you. Some of you have a lot more expertise than I do, and I look forward to actually collaborating with all of you.
Thank you so much, Amner. And how many batteries do you use a day on how many properties?
Currently, I'm at 23 batteries, and when we push ourselves, especially when it rains, we've actually managed to do 22 lawns in one day. We were so proud of ourselves that day when we're like, yes, let's see how many we can get without having to stop. And it's just a matter of how you use the equipment also. And we've even found that on the Ego mower, and I actually gave that feedback, the zero turn. I gave the feedback to Ego that for some reason, and it might be mental, but it seems to like work for us, the sequence that we put the batteries in makes a difference. I don't know, and I asked them to study it, and because we've just been trying to keep notes and like, hey, this is working really well. And then even right now that we had extreme heat, we did notice a reduction in our battery for both the truck and the equipment. So we kept tabs on that one. So yeah, right now it's 23 batteries. Because we added Montclair, we're looking at adding 6 more batteries into our repertoire, and that's going to help us continue to service the properties.
Great. Thank you so much. And it needs to be mentioned, you were also awarded an RFP from the town of Princeton for their abatement properties.
Yes.
So that must have been, I know, right? Wonderful.
Yes.
Success for an early business. And what's like the average size of the properties you service?
Which is interesting. We go from probably the smallest lawn size that you have to 5 acres.
Okay.
And that's something that we've been asked and you've been part of, where, yeah, but can you handle a large property? And I've used my drone also because I like to use technology. I use my drone to take pictures of the property so we can show people, yeah, we can take care of your lawn. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
right?
I'm not surprised because the first people I spoke to when I was investigating this were colleagues, friends in Lower Manhattan, where we have a wonderful park called the Battery, which was incredibly restored and landscaped by Pete Udolph. And because it was devastated during Hurricane Sandy, which obviously is a direct result of climate change, their horticultural team only uses electric and only has used electric ever since. And they have the woodland, which is, I believe, 4 acres and has 82 mature trees that they deal with entirely with ego blowers and mulch mowing and things like that. So I know you can do it if they can do it.
Yes.
Thank you, Amner. Nelson,
you.
will you please tell us about your story?
Oh, hi, how are you? This is Nelson Munoz from Cultural Loans and Chiappetta-Fierro Landscaping. I actually own 2 companies. My experience is so far, I've been 3 years since I started change to electric. I've been in business. Chiappetta has been in business for more than 50 years. It's a family business. I took over in 2004, 204. Been like 20 years already myself working on business. 3 years ago, I decided to start trying electric because I got a lot of complaints around Greenwich Town. People don't like the noise, and myself getting tired of that. And me being before as an operator, when I started working for my family, I understand how hard it is to work all day with the vibration on your back, smelling fumes, and your hands got numb because of the vibrations and complaints of people. And I saw that I can do something different for me and for my guys. So I start trying the electric, and I find out that really works. And what we have to do is find a technique to being able to use the equipment, because it's not just taking the machine and go ahead and mow it along. It's more about a technique, how you do your process of work every day to make those battery last, to make the job being able. So we start mulching. We find out that instead using push blowers, we can mulch. Instead using big power blowers, we still can mulch. It's no problem. And you don't need to have big blowers to take the leaves out of the garden and put it on the grass and mulch it there if you want to mulch those leaves. And especially if you go with a big power blower into a garden, you're gonna take mulch, you're gonna take stones, you're gonna take plants, flowers, everything out. So you don't want that. By using a small blower, I mean, which is when I started 20 years ago, 800 CFMs, we used to use 500 CFMs in gasoline, and we're still doing the job 20 years ago. Now we have 800 CFMs in electric, so there's no problem doing the job. I don't see no problem at all working with electric. So for the 2 years before, we just understanding, creating the way to work with electric. And this year I decided to go 100%, just put all the money that I have into new equipment, take away the gasoline, put it away, put lock on them, tell the guys that I don't want to see it anymore. And just I had to keep my truck because we had nothing else yet, because we're using big Hino box trucks, like for 8 people on those trucks can go. I put solar panels on the trucks. So we are getting, those trucks are generating 3,400 watts a day on battery. So we can charge anything we want except the big mowers. The big mowers, we charge it on the shop at night. But we put like a special outlet on the truck and on the trailer. So every night they come back, they just plug the chargers into the machines inside the truck. When they pull into the yard, they just plug the truck, and everything that is plugged inside is charging. But we charge all the small batteries with the solar panels. Is enough. So we can work 12 hours a day without interruption. I'm 9 acres long, 5 acres long. I have a crew of 50 houses. The small house they have is 2 acres long. So we can work a day we work 5 to 6 days a week on electric, 100%. So I decided to convert the whole company. And what I noticed is that what I used to spend in gasoline per crew, especially in that crew, the big houses, was about $3,000, $3,200 a month in gasoline, diesel gasoline, because the truck is diesel. Now I'm only paying $700 for the truck. All the other money is being toward the payment of the equipment. So I'm using that money to pay the equipment. I didn't have to increase my customers' prices. My old customers stayed the same. I mean, with the regular increases every year. New customers, yes, we're charging a little bit more because the situation is because of the competition, we have to keep lower prices to keep customers. But technically right now in electric, I had to balance what I'm invest and try to get the money back as soon as possible so I can keep growing. But it's been, for me, that I worked for 20 years with gasoline, if I'm gonna tell you the change is even better now. It's much better to work with that equipment. My guys are so happy. They don't wanna see no more gasoline again. They're happy working with it. I got them, many guys around wants to work with us now because we should electric equipment and they see the progress of the company. They see something better for them. So it's really good.
I just thank you, Nelson. Sometimes, when you're an advocate and you're trying to do this work and you're not a landscaper, people tell you don't know what you're talking about. It's not possible. And, you wake up in the morning thinking, is it a dream? Did I have a dream that this is possible? And you're telling me, no, it's reality. And I love it. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And I'm just so grateful that you logged in tonight to provide this testimony, because the way I see it is those of you who are converting to electric are almost like climate first responders. You're heroes for doing this, because the impact that you're going to have on our collective climate and the health of your employees is really significant. And not many people can go to bed at night knowing they've made such a big difference. So thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for coming here. And you're in Connecticut, correct?
Yes, I'm covering Greenwich, Connecticut, New Canaan, Darien,
Right.
Stamford, Greenwich, Norwalk.
Some pretty big homes there and pretty big yards, right?
Yes, right. And also combined, I start also, the first thing that introduced me to electric was automowers, robots that mow their lawns. So I also have a full crew of houses being assisted by robots. So we send the one guy crew to do pass the weed whacker on the corners and trim the hedges and pass the blower on the driveway, hard surfaces, and that's it. Everything is about, we got about 45 customers on that system with robotics, and we just assist the areas those machines doesn't go. It's been perfect. It's been nice, and it's very profitable for the company.
Yeah, I've seen videos of those on YouTube because that's what I do now at night. I don't watch my TV shows. I watch YouTube videos of landscapers, which is how I met you, Adam. And Adam, where are you based? Again, remind me, Minnesota?
Yeah, Minneapolis. Yep, we're out of Minneapolis, Minnesota here. Yeah.
So,
Diamond Cut Lawn Care. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was interested to hear from you. I know you're in the process of converting. Most of your equipment's electric, not everything, but you have a truck. Tell us about your truck.
Yeah. So Diamond Cut Lawn Care. We've been doing it lawn care for 20 years. So in about 2019, the crew had asked about, we had been using gas blowers, the large ones for fall cleanups, so you would use the same ones for the mowing. Instead of getting separate ones, but they would mention it's a hassle to put the backpack mower on just for a little bit of touch up here and there. So I said, can we just get some small ones? And said, of course, yeah. But then I was thinking, well, let's just get some electric ones and throw those in and just make it easy that way. So we started with that. We would throw some batteries in the truck with them, and then those would run out and they'd be back to the gas ones. So then that winter we started brainstorming and thinking about how to charge those. So the plan was to use a DC to DC charger, charge from the truck, the gas truck, to charge some batteries, and then charge those via inside the tongue box. And then so we started, actually the next year, I think we just did a little bit more of those in 2019. Yeah, 2020 came around. We installed some solar panels on our residence. And as we got more familiar with those and how those work, we talked with the solar installer and asked him about the possibilities, of installing these mobily. So what we did, we just used a rooftop, or the same cells that are on our roof, put them on our trailer. Yeah, so I guess I'll back up here a second. Yeah, like you said, so we've been in business, 20 years. So it was important that we can kept the quality up. So we probably would have transitioned as fast as possible, just kind of waiting for the technology to kind of come up there. So yeah, so then we started with that. We coming from a organic lawn care background, so it kind of fit the new niche there. Yeah, but then so we went to this not only for employee health. I mean, like as everybody had talked about, I mean, the fumes and everything and the noise, but also a competitive edge too. It's there's lawn care is so competitive. It's such an easy access start for a business. I mean, you just grab a mower and then you're in business really. So it's always nice to have a little differentiating factor to keep in business. So yes, what we did, so that was the how we started converting, the why. And then so then the how. So we did that's a couple of pictures here, share the screen. Share screen. Yeah, so then so right now we have the website here, a little daughter model here. She just happened to be running around there. But here are the solar panels on top of the trailer. And then so here's kind of the work as it was going on. It's just built a simple rack here. Welded some from a trailer welder here. And then measured things out correctly. So we got two large cells on top of the trailer here, which then power go down straight right into the box here, just a standard tongue box. Did the measurements and everything on that. Let's see if we could switch over here. Another view here. Another view of the box here. So the box actually, I drilled a hole. I was concerned when I was designing this, the heat in these boxes and the heat of the cells when you're out in the field. Just put a couple of essentially, powerful computer fans in here. One's an intake. Actually, the intake is just manual, and then there's a powered outtake here. So what's going on in here? The solar panels are charging. The solar converter here. And this is a system based on RV systems. So there's, obviously not very many people building solar panels for lawn care, but the RV situation is very well mature, and there's a lot of things out there. This company here, they provide one. I went with them just so for everything, so that it would be able to talk to them about questions and issues. So yeah, used a lot of that knowledge base. And so the solar converter comes into here, and then it charges some lithium iron phosphates, which is the RV uses. Built a rack, built a box around that to protect those. This goes into a so that's that. So the solar panels are constantly charging our power bank here, and then when needed, the 3,000 watt inverter is then powering any system you want. And we're using the Greenworks platform right now. We ended up going with them because they were one of the first ones with a dedicated stick edger, where we use edging as one of the normal services we're doing. So we wanted to be able to have a dedicated stick edger, so we went with those. But yeah, in this type of system, you don't need any. You can switch your platform whenever you want. Then you just plug other ones into it there. So yeah, so just a standard truck box. You got the intake, outtake. There's also a $15 controller here for that fan. It's there's a temperature sensor in there that'll turn this fan on when the temperature gets on and change the speed of it and everything. yeah, it works great.
Well, that's amazing and just so ingenious. To think about, sort of going into the RV world to try and find things to power up. I mean, genius. Thank you.
Yeah, so then oh, sure. I was just gonna add one other thing that then this is all of our small equipments then, and then we also use some mean green larger equipment. Those are charged from either residents or for somewhere else. Another charging place we use. If they don't have a solar array, then we're using like a power company. You can get the credits for renewable. You pay a little more for energy derived from wind power, solar power. But yeah, so then we use, and then everything's adjusted to that. There's very common utility in our field is the Jericho attachments. They use a dethatcher in the front. They also have a spreader that we use. Mean Green was really easy to get a hold of and discuss how to convert their voltage down to the voltage that spreader needed. So we even use the spreader on that. But yeah, so then anyway, this whole thing, I calculated it costed about $7,000, and that included my research and design and labor and everything. That was a few years ago now, and I figure with inflation, without using the research, but including the labor and equipment, you could probably still make do with get it done for about $7,000. So which is quite a bit less than there's some larger manufacturers providing whole trailer systems for upwards of 6 figures, which is not as easy to jump into, where this situation is a lot more manageable for startups.
Thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your experience. I know you probably are going to be dealing with a ton of leaves in Minnesota, just like in Connecticut and in New Jersey. So it's great to hear that you have full confidence that this is going to be doable for you too. I wanted to hear from Brandon and then Steve. Brandon, nice
Hello?
to meet you. Hi.
Can you see me?
No,
Nope.
but I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure how to work this, but yeah, I just I've been in business since 2017. I was all gas. Probably 3 years into it, I ran into someone who's one of Dan's relatives. I was doing their lawn. That's how I was able to meet up with Dan. And fast forward 3 years later, Dan contacted me about being part of Eon Alliance, and thought it was something that I was interested in, and so it's about 2 months now. I've been trying to convert over to electric lawn care, and everything's been going smooth. I know I just recently got my UI bill, and it probably jumped up about $50, and that's me working 2 days a week, doing about 15 to 20 lawns with the electric equipment. I run about 6 batteries, a day, and charge them overnight, and I have no problem with it so far. And that's about it.
Well, that's wonderful. What I wish we could see you. There's a video button on the banner that maybe you can switch on. But
Yeah, look at the camera down at the bottom. Just click on it. You'll show up.
yeah.
Let's see that superhero face of yours.
What equipment are you using currently?
Wait 1 second, try to turn on this. I'm using an Ego.
Okay.
Using an Ego. Also, Mean Green machines as well. The same machines Dan using.
All right. Fantastic. Well, while you fiddle with the camera, I'm gonna move on to Steve from Eco-Quip. Steve, how happy was I to find a store in New York? Oh, there you are, Brandon. Hi.
He's back.
He's back. Fantastic.
Was that?
So we'll circle back too. I want to hear more about your experience. and Brandon, what it's felt like to switch to electric for you, and how you're feeling about fall coming up in Connecticut. But in the meantime, Steve, tell us about Eco-Quip.
Hi guys. So I've been in the landscape industry for quite a while. I own Steve Weiss Landscaping. And then my partner, who's a landscape architect and designer, and myself joined an autonomous lawn mowing franchise through Husqvarna that didn't turn out so well, but we believed in the product. I had them on any piece of grass that I could have from my clients, and we wanted to pursue it. So we became Husqvarna dealers. And long story short, now we're a wide range. We have a brick and mortar shop in Nyack, New York, where we are Mean Green, Makita, Husqvarna, and, all top tier brands. We've been in the automower world for about 5 years now. We're certified automower installers throughout the tri-state area. The whole battery world, with COVID and everything, has just been a whirlwind coming through, from not only our town, in Rockland County where we live, but across really, the world, with everything that, has happened since COVID, people working from home, just the noise factor, alone is, if you own a company and you hear backpacks or weed whackers or anything going, you're making money. But it is just when you become readily available to the battery operated equipment, it's night and day. So, there's pros and cons to this whole thing. We're all, really pushing for all this battery stuff, and I love it. I've transitioned my company to 90% battery operated. My guys love it. But I'm a small company. So yes, while you see your returns in not that long of a time, for me to transition my company, let's just call it $100,000 or 150 maybe, to get some Mean Greens and to get some battery this and backpack and a blower and a weed whacker. The big guys that have 100 people and the DPWs and the municipalities, backpacks alone, they're going to be spending over $1 million. So, just the devil's advocate when you're talking about all these, why some people are hesitant, it gets, and what do they do with all their battery stuff that, that works totally fine? Getting rid of that is definitely a problem. Now, moving forward to buying new equipment when your old stuff craps out is a whole different story, because since I started changing my company over, just like everybody's talking about the gas, not having to stop and get gas, and how expensive it is and how expensive it's going to be, or it's, proving to be, is for my company, I'm seeing the bottom line is unbelievable for me, because I throw my regular Red Max backpack, all these years in the garbage every 2 to 3 years, besides all the maintenance that I put into it. My guys spill more gas than they put in the machines. So, I've had my battery backpack for about 4 years now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The machines that I'm using are Husqvarna and Makita. I get about a 4-hour runtime on those. The reason why I like Makita as my top tier, you could use one battery that powers 300 pieces of equipment. So we do all our in-house blade changing and all our own mechanics on all the equipment. So I could take my battery that's using my hedge trimmer and go to my impact gun, or, if we do some light construction, to a Sawzall. And like I said, 300 pieces of equipment. Ego is great. I like to choose, we carry equipment that has been certified by AGSA, as Dan was saying. He does real field testing, and really gives these, pieces of equipment a run for their money. And, we're seeing a lot of, good results with, people that are transitioning over to this battery equipment. The auto mowers that, Nelson, you've been using, and, a lot of people don't know about these auto mowers. So when you have somebody that doesn't want to spend, now the mean greens, a 60-inch cut mower is over $30,000. So, it's a little different back, I'm pretty sure, when Dan started buying them back in the day. And now that Generac does own them, just they're expensive machines. You still see your ROI within a couple of years. But for somebody starting off or not, the auto mowers are a great tool and super cost effective, just like the Roomba for your lawn, to put on, not only 2 or more acre, properties, but your average quarter acre or less, for a homeowner to municipality. So, a lot of people don't know about them, but they're pretty impressive. They're designed to cut every day, at night, in the rain. They transition to low voltage. So an average auto mower for a regular yard, costs the homeowner maybe $30 to $50 annually in electric. So, there's a lot of stuff out there that, people, don't realize what's out there, and they just don't know about it. So we're trying to bring awareness as Eco-Quip to, to the market and to everybody. I mean, the tools are out there. We're just trying to make people more aware of what's out there.
And you only sell electric lawn care equipment, correct?
Correct. We're only battery operated equipment. People have come into our store and said, "Can you get me a gas of this?" Or, like I said, I'm Husqvarna, I'm Steel, Toro,
Right.
And I'm just not. We're not in that market.
And when you were talking about the initial sort of investment outlay of $100,000, that was to go all electric. Like,
well,
with
for somebody like me, I'm
Yeah.
a small company. So if I had to go out and get a mean green or 2, right?
Right.
You got to figure that.
mower and stuff.
Yeah, let's just call 2 mean greens $60,000.
Right.
And then I have
The
to
blowers.
get the blowers, whether using backpack, handheld, to outfit my company to run like I'm running now. Let's just call it $100,000+.
Right.
Not horrible, but when the guy down the road is running 100 guys and needs minimal, let's just call it, 50 backpacks for 100 guys, like,
Yeah.
And backpacks, the Makitas are, $2,100. The Husqvarnas just raised their prices, they're $1,800. And these are backpacks that are running 4 hours in a clip, and just the battery part of it is almost $1,000 now. So, and charging them takes, a couple of hours. So, Ego has a different platform. But I choose, I stick with the backpacks just because that's what my guys like. Handhelds are perfectly capable in my opinion, after the spring cleanup, you could use handheld all day to blow off the clippings and everything in the, on the curbs and the walkways. But I think for the leaf cleanups, the guys like something on their back, just,
How's the power on the modern day beefy commercial backpack blower you just described that'll run 4 hours?
So it's powerful, believe it or not. Some of the handhelds actually have more power. But the runtime on the backpacks is what the guys like. If you literally put one of the Makita backpack and the Husqvarna and Steel, if you just held the trigger at full blast, they will last about 4 hours without hitting the turbo button. You hit that turbo button and it drains it right down. And Makita, they don't even put a turbo button on there because they just want it to last as long as it could. And if you need the turbo, just, grab a rake and loosen it up. And you still have to use, everybody's in this craze where you have to use gas powered backpacks for the cleanup season. Like, you're still got to rake and tarp a pile that's the size of your truck when you blow it into the middle of the property. Like, it's you're not using a backpack or a ground blower, no matter, even though the hurricane stand-ons and all that, for the guys in the industry that know what I'm talking about, but they have these stand-on leaf blowers that, could like blow your house down. But when you're doing these spring and fall cleanups, you still need a rake and a tarp and a green bucket to do the job correctly. I mean, I've been doing this forever. We've always done it like that. You rake them into a pile and then you bring them out of there. So, some people are a little fanatic about leaving stuff in their beds over the winter. You do have, it's also finding the right type of client in the landscape world, not so much the municipality, but, I could tell somebody till I'm blue in the face, leave your leaves in your lawn and in the garden beds, and they'll mulch the trees. And then, listen, I'm paying you to get this stuff out of there. I want it out of there. So, you can't recycle every leaf if the client doesn't want it. You just got to try and, talk them into it a little bit in certain applications.
So
even though I have more money taking the stuff out of there also.
In Montclair, the first step is going to be obviously transitioning to just electric blowers. So, Brandon,
that's everywhere. That seems to be,
everywhere. It's happening everywhere soon.
Yeah, I mean, right. So I mean, I'm in Nyack, and Nyack is from May 15th to October 15th. Westchester, forget about it. They're on another planet. You were saying Larchmont, they don't even want backpacks going. I don't know if it's a couple days during the week or it's indefinitely now, but
Larchmont has seasonal limits on electric blowers as well.
Yeah, but I mean, on electric also, right? I mean, it's but I mean, then you get into another whole conversation where they don't want the landscapers doing it, but the homeowners allowed to do it. But then the DPW guys are allowed to.
No, even the homeowners, no one's allowed in
Well,
large.
Montclair, not everywhere. It's like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
So Brandon, if you were to eliminate the mower and all the rest of the equipment from the equation, how much did you spend to convert your blowers to electric?
I want to say roughly about $4,000.
Okay, $4,000, and you're servicing how many properties?
I'm servicing about I have about 20 properties in rotation right now.
Okay.
So bi-week basis, so I'll do about 10 properties a day.
Yeah, and they're size-wise, like
the biggest one is about an acre and a half or acre, 2 acres.
How many guys you have?
This is me and my brother.
Right.
Yeah.
Just me and my brother. So we do it. It's just like that. We just rotate the 6 batteries in rotation. By the end of the day, the last battery's on his last final straw, and just come home, charge it.
Right.
Also use the Workman GTs as well for the edging as well.
And now,
I mean, again, I'm sorry. Like, one of the things, again, just being on both sides of it, I'm fortunate enough to have a shop and a yard now where I can plug in. You drive by, all these gas stations and, wherever it is that people can't or don't have the luxury of plugging into, if you're not doing solar on the top of a truck, and if you're not parking at your house, or you are parking at a gas station that doesn't want you to use their electric, that becomes an issue, because you can keep as many gas cans as you want in your truck. So being in all these different groups from Jersey to Westchester to Rockland to Connecticut, guys do want to transition into becoming battery, but they don't know how they're going to charge. And even some of, we're working with a couple of bigger groups that want to purchase Mean Greens and want to, really outfit their company, but they don't know how to charge all their equipment without putting solar panels, on top of their building, or where it's such a big investment that, I'm hearing I'm just going to ride out the wave with my gas stuff until we either get more grants for, and tax credits for either putting solar on my building or getting money to, more money towards, it's not as easy, or it's, there's a lot that's going into really outfitting DPWs and municipalities and these bigger companies with the, with the grid.
Like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like what Dan was saying though, like a lot goes with customers as well. Like them letting us use their outlets and stuff like that. Just having a understanding with the customer. That's another way I've been able to keep my batteries charged as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at the house, a lot of the batteries I'm working with takes 45 minutes. So if you're, you have a lot of these companies that are also just cut and run. I have the luxury of charging at some of my clients' properties. I'm not a huge company. I do some bigger properties, and yeah, they don't really have a problem with me plugging in. I also outfitted my trailer with enough batteries to get me through the day where I don't really have to plug in, because I just don't want to, although my clients let me and I appreciate it, I kind of just want to, the guys forget them, then they got to go back and get them. So it's just, it's just like leaving a gas can, somewhere. But, a lot goes into really truly going into being fully battery. And, there's just for us to transition and we get a little bit of tax benefit, and then you get a giant company that has to spend $1 million and they get the same tax breaks. There's a little bit more, I think, that, some incentives and bringing in your gas powered stuff to get a credit towards the battery stuff. But, it's definitely headed in the right direction.
I agree. Adam, you had a point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of missed it, and I forgot to kind of go into that a little bit on mine, where the initial idea of when we were charging, we didn't even think about the solar. So the initial plan was to use a DC to DC converter. So I mean, you're using gas, but it's substantially less emissions from a vehicle compared to the gas blowers. So what you do is you get a little bit better inverter alternator in your truck, run a wire, heavy gauge wire back to your tongue box, and then just put a simple DC to DC converter there, and you can run that straight into a power bank.
Yeah, no, I mean,
inverter.
I completely understand what you're saying. It's just for the backpacks, it's one thing, because you don't need solar panels. And again, we're into this. We want to do this. For the companies that don't want to do this or not being forced yet, they're status quo. But there are a lot of solutions that you're talking about, and solar panels on trailers. And I outfitted, just like Nelson, I have most of my clients have autonomous lawnmowers on their properties, and I outfitted a Transit with an inverter with battery operated equipment to just drive around with a couple of guys in a push mower where these mowers where the autonomous mowers can't get to, and which is saving me huge, because now I don't have to send 4 guys with $150,000 worth of equipment, a 20-foot trailer, a 4-door dump truck. I love it. And when I talk to these people, I'm like, you're all crazy for not doing what I'm doing. But right, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in gas that they're not looking to throw into the garbage just to become battery right now. You know what I mean? The municipalities that are, they have to figure out these solutions, So again, the grid is a big deal when you're talking about 100 batteries, 6 mean greens. They do have the electric box trucks, and I think or somebody's coming out with the battery dump truck that's almost $200,000. So charging all of that stuff is a big deal and a big investment.
Nelson, did you have any thoughts about what your experience has been making this transition, and any words of advice for landscapers like Amner or Brandon if they want to scale up?
Yeah, what I says and what he was talking about is the logistics. It is not gonna be no more for a small guy. The point I see it, you need a place to have a you need a warehouse to storage equipment to have these machines at night charging. You cannot leave the truck on the parking lot and run a cable from your house all the way down to the road until you have the parking there and plug it into the machine. It is complicated to start. It's more complex than gasoline operators. Operation equipment is way more complicated on the point of view of logistics. The storage, charging, you have to, like in my shop, we hired an electrician. He's going to change the whole wire system, and he's gonna put bigger breakers, bigger wires, everything is gonna be bigger in my shop in order to put all the machines. We right now have about 12 big mowers, 60 inches, ride-ons, stand-ons,
Oh, wow, it's a lot.
and they take a lot of power at night.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get there in the morning and
So what's the rough costs? You don't have to tell me exactly, but what is something like that is your electrician charging you?
he's gonna charge me $12,000 to change from the breaker box. I mean, from the meter into the breaker box. They're gonna have to put a bigger gauge cable.
Okay.
And from the breaker into the switches, they're gonna have to change to 220s, and then we're gonna have outside the shop where the trucks park, we're gonna have like RB plugs.
Okay, that's not bad actually.
So it's
Those
going
would
to
be
be
worse.
yeah.
Still expensive, but not bad.
No, it's not that bad, but it's something that we had to change. We don't have to change before. Now I have to change all that stuff in order for me to get those.
Well, the 220s will charge your mower in,
Yeah.
8 to 10 hours instead of 15 to 20. So you kind of have to do it,
Yeah.
but it's the right thing to do for sure.
And then on the truck, we spend per truck. We have 2 trucks with solar panels and a trailer. About between the solar panels, the labor, I have a friend that is like kind of engineer on electronics and stuff. He's helping me to set up all those. I'm spending around $12,000 to $13,000 between materials and what he's doing for me every truck.
Yeah, no, there's there's a lot going on out there. Like I said before, moving in the right direction. It's a positive direction. Going down to Kentucky to the home show and really seeing what's out there and all these autonomous mowers, with the labor shortage and just the way things have been. The autonomous mowers are really, I'm happy to hear that you're using them. I think they're really a good part of the future. And like I said, with zero emissions, they can cut at night in the rain. And it's about repurposing also the guys that you have. Like you said, you're sending half the crew. And, for me, I love them. I'm never behind on cutting at those houses, and I'm not pulling a landscape crew to do the mulch and, I'm sorry, to cut the grass, and everybody wants their lawn cut for the weekends. I was a landscape contractor, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out there, battery and robotics. So interesting.
Amner, what was your initial investment? You're all excluding the F-150 truck.
Yeah, the F-150 was obviously the big because especially because Ford had no shame in telling me that they were upcharging me $10,000 because there was a shortage of the trucks. So, and they said on the positive side, you're going to get $7,500 back on the tax credit. But I would say all in all, with the zero turn and then with the batteries, I'll say even with what I've added on now, I'm probably about 17,000 right now. And we are servicing currently 60 properties. So, and it's been all electric. I know one of the things that I was thinking about on the robotics, which is actually very funny. And Anna, you know this because I took a short, quick trip out of the country. And like you, I was watching videos on the plane. And that's when it hit me with the robotic lawnmowers. The one thing that I was thinking about the robotic lawnmowers is, yes, probably the lawns will look a lot better for the clients, which is what they want, but the grass clippings stay there. And you know how many people want the grass clippings hauled away and all that stuff, and that will change their habits also. So I think it's also going to lead to healthier lawns and better looking lawns. And I was thinking, okay, what's the next iteration? And I'm glad to hear, and I'll pick some of your brains down the line, because yes, a one-man crew going to do the edging or just the blowing of the clippings, and then yes, obviously the bigger projects when it comes to the gardening aspects. But I was actually thinking about that on the next iteration of what I'm going to be doing in 3 or 4 years already. And just over the weekend, I was thinking and starting to look at some of the autonomous mowers.
Yeah.
So just so you're aware, they don't really leave behind clippings because they don't come and cut once a week after the lawn grows out. Being that they cut
almost
every
daily,
day,
right?
it's daily and it's millimeters off the
Right.
blade. So like I haven't cut my lawn in about 4 years, and I could walk outside right now barefoot and I wouldn't have any clippings on my feet. So just to put that in perspective, it's really, you know, you're not letting the lawn grow for a week and then come in and taking 3 inches off it, especially the way the you know, the growing season's been right now. Your lawn just kind of looks like a carpet and it's manicured. The only thing it doesn't do is, you know, weed whack the edges and, you know.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what I was thinking with the clippings. Yeah, the millimeters of the clippings, which is great. I think that's actually down the line. That's what I'm hoping to move into also.
Yeah, well, again, you know, if most of our clients want the lawns cut on the weekends and it's raining Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday and Friday, when are you getting there? And then, you know, are you giving them a credit for not showing up, or are you charging them more for double cutting next week? So for me, these things have been an absolute blessing, but you know, it's a lot to take in, and it's not for all applications, that's for sure.
Yeah, in my case, I do manage up to 9 acres with automowers. We have commercial places and we have houses. Some houses even has 3-4 of them in place. And
yeah,
the experience with those machines are best. I mean, you had no problems with them, besides sometimes they get stuck here and there, and we got the phone with the application where we know what's going on with them anywhere where we are, and we just pass by, fix it, and keep working.
Yep.
No problem. That's the best thing. Grass clippings, like you says, is 90% water on that, so it's cutting 1/8. 90% water is going to go back into the ground again in less than 6 hours. So it's
it's also, you got to look at is, you know, these auto mowers, you know, they weigh, most of them are, you know, maybe 10 to 15 pounds, unless you have, you know, the Ciora, which is a 4-foot, or the Eco machine, but the average mower weighs about 10 to 15 pounds. So even if you don't have one of these mowers on your property and it's been raining the way it has been, you're rutting the lawn. You know, these people that want, especially where you are, and then, you know, you don't want to rut the lawn. You don't want to do, you know, rip the lawn up. And when you're racing against the rain, you're rushing and you're going to do some damage to your clients' lawns. And that doesn't happen with these. It just doesn't happen with these auto mowers. You know, the worst thing that happens with them is that they might get stuck on a branch. That's about it. And you get alerts on your phone. The client can see them. We have fleet applications. That's, you know, it's a good application. So
as we wrap up, this has been tremendous and so informative. I just wanted to ask one more time so that I know I haven't been hallucinating. Nelson, or can you do fall cleanup with electric blowers?
Well, actually, we did already 2 fall cleanups, 2 seasons already. One of the crews, the first crew we started 3 years ago. So we already passed through 2 seasons of fall cleanups. No problems. It's even faster. I can tell you, we do it faster with mulching and living there and just picking up the branches, using the rakes is easy than push the leaves through two acres of lawn with no leaves. You take it from the garden, pass it through the lawn, and then push it into the woods. When you can just pick it up or just mulch it right there, that make it so fast. We've been doing more houses a day since we're doing this than what used to do with the old way we were doing gasoline. We were able to do maybe two houses of the big ones, 2 to 3 acres a day. Now we're doing about 10 acres in one day because of the electric and the technique, because it's like it says, it's not only the electric power equipment, it's how you work. You got to change the way you work in order
That's
to get,
part of it.
yes.
I noticed the same thing, Nelson. When we started mulch mowing all the time for fall cleanup, I said, wow, our fall cleanup revenues are way down. But that's a good thing. We're spending less time, we're charging less money, and you can do more. And then when we started using sweepers, that gets even more interesting, really, even more efficient. But the sweepers are kind of flimsy, so it's tough working with sweepers, but they are amazing products. So I'm hoping somebody will come out with a ruggedized commercial tow behind sweeper that you can use to catch that extra layer of mulched leaves that maybe are too much, kill the grass instead of feeding it.
The equipment works. I mean, it does work. Just like Dan said before, your upfront costs are sometimes double. But you're also, the way I sell this equipment is that you're paying for your gas up front. You don't fill up your gas can once a week or once a month or once a year. So, everybody comes into the store. How many batteries do I need? How many batteries do I need? I don't know. See where one gets you and then buy another one and then see where that gets you. I mean, that's, it's just paying for your fuel up front. But for me, not having to run back to the gas pump is enough.
Yeah, calculate the value of that time.
Right.
So-
Or you're at the gas station for an hour and a half.
How would you, for say a landscaper who has never done all electric cleanup and they're trying to estimate how much to charge their client, what I've seen some landscapers try and figure out, okay, well, it's going to take longer, so that's more man hours, so I need to charge you more. Like one example was somebody who had, looked at what someone's lawn had taken last year with gas blowers, and they multiplied it times 4, saying, their property had taken 9 man hours with gas powered tools, so that they would need to multiply that times 4 with electric tools. What is your, I see your faces, but tell me with words. Nelson, what do you think about that?
I mean, like it says, you will reduce your time because of the batteries.
Okay.
You have to use another techniques to be on place. I can tell you, we still going 4 hours. We're now doing 2 hours on cleanups. Is less. You can still charging. What I'm doing is for doing these customers for so many years. I got the experience to charge, so I still charging the same as was charging in gasoline. I just using different equipment now, but I don't know. It's the same profit. I'm making more profit because it's less time.
For what you were saying with somebody starting off, there's a lot of different ways that contractors are doing things. You have the company that does everything hourly, right? And then you have a guy that, if you've been doing a property for 10 years and now you're introducing electric, 4 hours seems excessive. Maybe an hour or two just to play it safe if somebody's not sure. But it also depends on the size of the property. Are you not using, are you all battery but using a leaf vacuum to pick stuff? I mean, so like, or you just, putting a bug, if you're doing it the exact way, which is using battery operated equipment, 4 hours sounds excessive. But
Less than an acre.
Yeah, that's very excessive.
No,
in
for
my
a
opinion,
quarter
but-
acre, you need 1 hour. Quarter
Okay.
acre house, 1 hour.
In fall in the Northeast.
In the following notice, yes. I do have the biggest vacuum you can have. Is sitting on my yard for the last 3 years. I never use the vacuum anymore. We don't make any piles on the street of leaves. We don't do anything like that. Everything stays in property. It gets mulch over there. Like, we used to come blow the leaves from the garden beds into the lawn, and then from the lawn into the pile on the road, and then mow the grass when we finish to make it look nice.
Mhm.
We're doing mowing and mulching at the same time. So that's saving half of that process of
Yeah.
what we used to do. And we don't piling, we don't dragging anything onto the lawn. We don't bring in another truck, another couple guys to load the truck or to use the vacuum. Even using the vacuum, you use a couple guys. Then run into the dump place, dump it. Sometimes the guys has to wait till you come back with the truck again, keep loading again. So it is a lot of significant time when you're mulching. That's gonna reduce a lot of time.
Brandon, how about you? Say I told you, hey, I have an acre and I've got 20 trees and I'm in the Northeast. I need you to do a full cleanup.
This would be my first fall cleanup.
Oh, it'll be your first one. Okay. So you'll let us know next time when we do
Absolutely.
how it was going and how it's going now. Fantastic. All right. And Amner, I know this is not your first time at the rodeo, and you're currently estimating for fall cleanups in my area.
Yes.
And so
Interestingly enough, the same story, because I think we are talking about the same client. I got a different story. I got 5 guys that come in for 4 hours, which is maybe an acre property. And I said, well, and then they were discussing like how Montclair was going to limit it to 2 blowers. I said, okay, but that's going to take you longer. I said, okay, but if you got 5 guys taking 5 hours, that's 25 hours. So I can probably do 2 guys, 10 hours, and I'm at 20 hours max. I'm saving 5 hours there. And then the other 2 guys that I would put in another property, and I would get the same 10-hour day full out of everything. And not only did I save 5 hours per crew, that's 10 hours, I saved a whole nother person. So I'm at 15 hours saved. So they were questioning my economics there, I think. And then obviously when you mulch in place, it's not going to take that long. I think there's a lot of, again, misinformation and fear that's going on, and that is not helping out. And to be honest, once the full ban is in place, I think most of the landscapers will come around. You don't want to lose the business, especially if you've been around for years and you got relationships. Why would you want to lose business, especially, fall, spring cleanups? That's where the bulk of the money is made. I call the mowing is the loss leader, right? And the loss leader in the business. You gotta mow the lawns in order to get the rest of the business, and that's where you make your profit.
That's why the blower thing is such a big deal. There's a financial incentive to get as much of that fixed fee into your pocket as fast as you can. And so the mentality is bigger, faster blower, strip it side to side and run, and I keep more of that fixed fee. That's why those guys are crazy angry. I got interrupted presenting the other day. They were kind of rabid in Norwalk, Connecticut. But
they are everywhere.
Yeah, but it's kind of a crazy incentive. The model is fixed fee for cleanup, strip everything, and if your blower's faster, then you could strip it faster and make more money. Assuming the blower's not breaking the bank.
And in theory, you could go faster if you're mulching in place, right? And then, like you said, the sweepers and everything. Yes, it's taking less, but if you have the fixed fee, like Nelson was saying, he's still charging the same that he did for the past 10 years. So that doesn't even change the dynamics. Actually, it's more beneficial for the business owner at that point. You're making more. You can actually take care of more properties, and you're actually helping the environment at the same time. So it's just one of those things that educational part, and then the fear. When I do a lot of trainings in other industries, it's the FUD factor, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? And that's what people are afraid of, the change.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, like, in 2 years or a year from now, at least in Montclair, it's going to be a non-issue.
For sure. And you know what? And then at that point, everybody will get cupcakes from me to celebrate or something.
And at that point, we'll move on to mowers and all the rest of the equipment, and we'll
maybe it'll
it's going to
be
be
like
the hamster wheel. It's going to be the hamster wheel.
Maybe the blowers, maybe the electric blowers will be like the gateway drug,
Right.
Into the heavy duty stuff.
Yep.
But either way, listen, I am so grateful to all of you for taking time to record this so that other people can benefit from it. I mean it. You are like first responders for our planet. The amount of work you do with our Earth on a day-to-day basis, it's backbreaking. And to be able to do it in a way that is helping the climate is exceptional. And I'm just grateful to all of you for that, for taking this risk, for making that change for the future generations, for our kids, grandkids, to be able to not be stripping the soil, to not be harming pollinators as much as those huge push behind blowers do. And the excessive blowing, and to just have the courage to try a different business model that is better for the planet. That's the economy of the future, because without an environment, we have no economy. Amner, am I right?
Yes, well, thank you for including me in this and Eco-Quip, and if
I'll be coming up to see you because I've normally spent quite a bit of time in Nyack, so
well,
I'll be
I
visiting.
was just about to say, if anybody locally is, I don't think I can come out to Minnesota, but if anybody's interested in any demos with auto mowers or any battery operated equipment, we can make that happen, and we can come to you. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll send out the link once it's online so that you can broadcast it as you wish. As we all together make a change for our planet. Dan, boy, what a mentor. How did I find you? I don't know, but I'm so grateful that I did.
So good we got together. Thank you. Yeah.
Likewise. All right.
then,
Good night, everybody.
Thank
all
you.
right,
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you all. Thank you for coming and hanging out so long.
all right, we'll see you.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.